Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. How you all doing? Let's switch scenes here. Go to the studio for a second. There we go. So yeah, what's on the docket for today, guys? Welcome to the live stream, first of all, of course. Quite a bit of arm wrestling happening this week. Not only East versus West, but also a couple of other tournaments went on. Plus, I had a big international quote-unquote training on Saturday with a seminar from Reno Message, which was awesome. So I might be a little bit low energy today, but yeah, we'll keep going as always, of course. Let's see who's in the chat. Tomer, how you doing? Says Arm Historian, when is the Engin video coming out? Soon. I know I said soon a lot. There's a bunch of different reasons why it hasn't come out yet. Most of them are my fault completely. Not making enough time to actually work on it. But yeah, there's a couple of, let's say, extenuating circumstances, right? Couple of things that happened with Engin lately that I needed to add to the video, plus the biggest kind of time pit, so to speak, is the fact that recently I got quote-unquote accepted into the East versus West partner program, which kind of means I can use some footage now from East versus West. I'm actually able to use footage in the Engin video, so that meant I had to re-edit a lot of pieces there. It's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be a thorough and long one. But yeah, that's basically what's going on with that. Tallball Hutchings, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Good to see you as always. Egay, hey, what's up? Says, I just want to say that Samushia is the GOAT. Yeah, very true. We'll get to it soon in the stream. We'll go over, yeah, each match. Some matches we'll spend a little more time on, of course, but we'll go over each match. Topal says, woo, Mercy doing the stanky leg dance with that music. Yeah, I said I'll switch back to this view for a second. I set the hand to move with the music. Wat zeg je me daar nou van? Says, hey, was Maiorov in prime shape? He might have been. Wat zeg je me daar nou van? He might have been. I don't know. It's difficult to say, right? Because, yeah, one of his last outings, he wasn't in prime shape very clearly. I saw a good point brought up that talked about the fact that he was getting ready to face Levon. But then Levon kind of dropped out of the match. And he had to face... who was it again? Georgie or something? And that he kind of peaked too hard for Levon and then had to switch gears too fast. And yeah, kind of got the bad end of that. Tomer says, I just need to eat my dinner, but in about 35 minutes I should be here, but I can watch for 5 minutes or so. All good. Hope your dinner tastes good, Tomer. Hey, Paul Lin, the White Orc himself in the chat. How you doing, Paul Lin? Sup. Good to see you. Good to have you in the chat. Hey, wat zeg je me daar nou van? Good to see what I assume is a Dutchie in the chat. Yeah, Paul Lin in the chat. Really nice to have you here, Paul. Big fan of Paul Lin, as you guys know. Let me quickly change some stuff around here. There we go. So yeah, let's talk about the matches, right? Maybe it's better if we talk about the event in general first, like in a general sense. Kind of the production and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of complaints on that end, to be fair. I think everything went pretty smoothly. A couple of audio issues here and there, but overall, by far, not the worst of its kind, right? As far as production value goes. I think, yeah, everything ran relatively smoothly, right? As far as I could tell. Might have been a different experience in the room, but yeah, I thought everything went kind of well. Sound quality was good for East versus West standards, I think, so yeah, not a lot of complaints there. The crowd was a little less enthused than we've seen in the last couple of editions. I don't know why. Might have been a coincidence, right? Just people that were in general little lower energy, maybe, I don't know. It's a tough one. Can't really say why. I don't know if other people in chat felt the same way, but yeah. Topal says, I sure hope Travis keeps on keeping on. Yeah, that was a big risk, right, with this match. That Travis would lose and then would throw in the towel after his comeback even really started. So yeah, I hope so too. I hope that doesn't happen despite his loss. Spoiler alert. And that goes for the rest of the stream, by the way. A big spoiler alert goes without saying, I think, but I'll say it anyway because I get people complaining about it sometimes. But yeah, expect to hear about match results from East versus West 13 today. Egay says Levan was about to destroy Morozov. Levan was at his absolute peak, curling 165 for 3 quite clean reps. Yeah, I'm not saying like Morozov was in any sense going to beat Levan. I'm just saying it might have played into Morozov's shape during his match versus, I think, Georgi Svetkov, right? Or who was it again that Morozov lost to when he was on the soup diet? Wawrzynski Medanovan says, would Prime Dennis beat Prime Devon since Devon beat Richard Lupkes easier than Dennis and Devon beat? I'm half Dutch, I don't live in the Netherlands, so I can only understand a little. That's fair, Wawrzynski Medanovan. As long as you can understand your own name, that's enough, right? Yeah, I don't know. I can't say, of course, for sure. But I can say that you can watch our all-time Prime Fantasy series, which is a series of live streams in which we try to answer those exact questions. So yeah, interesting question. I'll refer you to those live streams, and I'm sure we'll do a next one, pretty sure. Topal says, was rooting for Artem, but I figured it was going to be a rough day for him. Yeah, we might as well jump into the matches now that I've got this one open. Me too. I said this in my prediction video that I think it's going to be tough for Artem. I didn't think it was quite going to be this one-sided, but it kind of set the stage for the rest of the event, I feel like. Because, and this is a big spoiler, most matches were quite one-sided affairs. I think all, if not most, were one-sided affairs. There were a couple that went the distance, but not a lot. Not a lot of them. It's not necessarily that bad of a thing, to be honest. It also meant that the event didn't take quite as long as it usually did, so that was an upside for me personally, just because I was really tired from the big training that day. Which, by the way, was really nice. Reno Message did a really great job with his seminar. It was his first seminar ever. I got a chance to talk to him a little afterwards. Really nice guy. And yeah, I think he did a really great job, especially considering it was his first time ever, like, talking about arm wrestling in front of a crowd like that. Were a lot of people there. Egay says, we need Henry in the crowd for next East versus West. Yeah, I agree. Bring Henry back. Needs to come back to the VIP section. Topal says, was the unlucky 13 event, less energy and Engin in a neck brace was very fitting. Hope heals up quick though. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Engin having the worst of luck. Wait, let me quickly adjust I see my webcam here is kinda maladjusted. Let me try and fix that. Yeah, that's better. So yeah, that's another thing, right? Engin's misfortune during the event and in the lead up to the event. First a burst appendix, which landed him in the hospital with a pretty severe infection afterwards. And then he made his way back to the event, he made content and stuff like that. He talked to a lot of athletes. Yeah, and then the news came, like, I think the day of the press conference or the day before. that he, I think as far as I know, he slipped and hit his head and had to be taken to the hospital. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I hope he makes a full recovery. Jude Duval says, wow, there's another Jude here. Yes, indeed, Jude Duval. We have a channel regular named Jude Dubois, who is a, who is also in chat usually. Big Mad Mask fan. And a good guy all around. Tomer says, what do you think the chances are for Vitaly facing Levan in December? Good question. There was talk about it, right? I think Levan talked about it during his interview or something. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe Vitaly and Ray talked about it in Vitaly's post-match interview. Either way, I do think it's in the cards, right? It's bound to happen at some point. Probably pretty high, I would say. Jude Duval says, Dennis, for the most part, only has a few options. I think the Devon that beat Hermes and stopped Levan is too versatile. Yeah, might be. Ratseki Medanovan says, I lied that most were one-sided, so it was not getting too late. That event lasted to 1 a.m. where I live. Yeah, it lasted to something like that for me too. Something like that. Maybe midnight for me. Not quite sure. Hey, Atlantis, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. You're having a wonderful Sunday. Topal says, I didn't think Travis, Dadiakan, and Vitaly matches would be that one-sided. Definitely surprised me. Pauling go roll through them all in no time at all. Yeah, maybe Travis should face a couple other people first. I don't know. Maybe this was a bad idea. Could have kind of predicted it, right? John Haas says, shame about Ayane. I really wanted her to win and the way she lost was frustrating, but holy shit, Oleg Petrenko is the man and David Samushia. I hear you loud and clear on that one, John Haas. Let's move on to the next match here and talk about this one for a little bit while I get through more chat messages. Adam Wawrzynski versus Vladimir Maiorov. Another pretty one-sided affair in favor of Vladimir Maiorov, I believe, although I was out getting food during this match. So I had to kind of trust on my training partners who were watching the event with me to, get a good sense of what happened here. Maybe chat can fill me in, but as far as I'm aware, Maiorov took Adam Wawrzynski pretty easily. Atlantis says the Drew 24 is recovering from a removed appendix also. Must be that season. If you hear this, the Drew 24, I hope you make a fine recovery. I've also had my appendix removed, but yeah, it's been a long while. I think I was like 12 or something. Vitaly said he needed a little more time, but nothing specific, said KL. Okay, that's fair. What Seki Medanovan says, and I'm gonna wake up at 3 a.m. because I'm going to the Netherlands, so I was not disappointed. Okay, yeah. I hope you have a good time in the Netherlands. What Seki Medanovan? Where are you going in the Netherlands specifically? Atlantis says, Arm Historian, thanks man, going decently. I'm out making deliveries though, so I'll just be listening. That's fair, Atlantis. Yeah, I hear your... I remember last live stream you said something about making deliveries too on a Sunday, so I hope it's at least somewhat enjoyable. And yeah, go make that money, man. Egay says, Engin said he thinks Vitaly should not face Levan because he lost to Hermes not long ago. Also, Vitaly himself said he needs more time for Levan and also needs to prove himself against someone else. Yeah, it's difficult, right, setting matches for Levan. I think, and this is my opinion, right, we need to get into a mindset where the top guys in the class need to pull more. Easier said than done, right? Who are you even gonna match them with? But I think in order to hold on to a title, you should at least be defending it like twice a year, right? I would go for 3 personally, but at least twice, in my opinion. So yeah, even if you can't find matches that are on paper very close, I do think it's worth giving people who want a chance, and kind of making the top guy pull a little more. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm like really looking forward that much to Levan matches, although I do want to see him pull more. But it's kind of a foregone conclusion with a lot of his matches, I believe. But I do think they need to happen. Topal says, after the Adam match, I started to realize the West gonna get hammered again, lol. Yeah, this is about that time I had the same feeling when it started to sink in for me that, yeah, the West was gonna have a really rough time with it. I hear you loud and clear. Wawrzynski Medarnovan says, Amsterdam, I think. Okay, sounds like a well-planned trip there. Yeah, Amsterdam, good place to visit. Not my favorite place in the Netherlands, but good place to visit. Quite a long way away from where I live, so yeah. Not even in the Netherlands. Atlantis says, I used to have a phobia that every little cramp or pain was appendicitis as a young kid. That's funny. It's funny now. Probably wasn't that funny as a kid. Jacobin says, fun weekend all around. Lots of great content out. Yes, indeed. A lot of good arm wrestling to watch during the weekend. Juduval says, Levan versus Brian Shaw using both arms. Could be close. True, could be a close match. Beating someone with at least a little arm wrestling knowledge who has a decent amount of strength with two hands is an impossible feat, at least for me. Like, there's guys that I beat at training pretty handily, but once they use two hands, there's just no way. No way. I think Urdecha has a huge potential based on his frame and recent performance. I think he will be number one at sometimes, says Wawrzynski Medarnovan. Yeah, might be. A lot of people have been saying that about Vitali too, and I think he's getting close. Dan Plexman, how you doing, man? Good to have you. So yeah, this match, again, one-sided, unfortunate. Let's look at the next one. Now this one, guys, remind me. How did this one end? I believe Maharint won, right? If I remember, it was a bit more of a war than the previous matches, but still quite one-sided, right? I'm not 100% on that one, so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong there, chat. But I do think it was closer than the previous one. Robbie says yes, must be true then. Yes, very one-sided, says Timmy Turner. How you doing, by the way, Timmy Turner? Long time no see. Hope you're keeping well there. My arms are still really hurting, actually. Talking about arms hurting, I see Verbeer just entered the chat. Evening, Verbeer. One of the people that joined me at the international training yesterday. How are your arms, my man? Egay says, I agree with Vitali, that's smart. If we consider that in his worst shape, in his pro career, he beat Hermes. After a big injury, he beat Prime Devon, so imagine how difficult it is to beat him in his peak. Yeah. I understand why people don't want to jump into a Levan match, right? But I think now we're at a point where that few people want to compete with Levan on short notice that it takes a year before a Levan match happens. You know what I mean? Which basically means Levan can achieve these crazy peaks when his matches actually happen, because he has an entire year to prepare. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. I believe there should be more matches, regardless of if they're good or not on paper. I think there should be more matches for Levan. Pauline says Samushia is East versus West GOAT. Yeah, Samushia is one of those people that just keeps impressing me more and more each event. I keep thinking, surely this is where his streak must end. But yeah, he keeps pulling out wins out of seemingly nowhere. Like, if I remember correctly, his hand was dominated for most of the match, but he still pulled it out. Timmy Turner says, doing good. I was very impressed by Samushia's performance. Yes, indeed. Indeed, Timmy Turner. I think everyone was, right? Topal says, I think Zurab was still skittish with that arm he broke. Yeah, might be the case. I can't blame him. If that is the case, I can't blame him for sure. Robert's arm are okay. Awesome. ATOS Move, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Another regular there. Beating Sasho in the 85 kilogram class. That's crazy, yes. Talpal says, yeah, a champ should defend the belt at least 3, maybe 4 times a year would be very good for the sport. If a champ participates in the sport, he's in. Yeah, very true. So yeah, also pretty one-sided, but do keep in mind, this the first match that Zurab came back after his, what was a pretty dramatic injury, right, at AMC, as far as I can remember. So yeah, I can't really blame him for maybe holding back a bit. I don't know if he really did. I don't think Zurab is usually the kind of guy that does hold back, but there might have been some of that going on, right? Or at least some trepidation because of his injury. But yeah, let's move on to the first women's match of the night, which, yeah, I think Karolina Pedersen dominated Olga Terpelova, right? And that's a sentence you're gonna hear a lot. This person dominated this person. In this event, you're gonna hear that a lot. But I think it was the case here as well. If I can remember, there were a couple of times maybe. No, I'm thinking of another match. Yeah, I think Karolina pretty much took care of Olga in a quick fashion there. Which, if you consider Karolina to be part of the West, is a victory for the West. Pauline says, and without his hand. Yes, indeed. Samusha beat him without his hand, which is, yeah, just crazy from what kind of positions he can hold on and come back from. I don't get it. Especially when you see him, the guy. No disrespect to Samusha at all, because he's in way better shape than I am, of course, but just looking at the guy, he doesn't have the most imposing physique. So when you see him pulling out stuff like that, it's just all the more amazing, to me at least. Yeah, pretty tough opponent for a comeback, says Timmy Turner about the previous match. I agree there. I agree. Theo says, why Devon always loses at practices? I think people in general should lose more at practices. I'm talking even from my own perspective when we get new guys in to the practice. I think people should be more okay with losing in practice. Oftentimes it's kind of an ego thing, at least that's what it seems like to me, but I think practice should be all about losing. And I mean, you shouldn't purposely lose every time, right? But I think you should just train several different scenarios, and some of those scenarios are putting yourself in a worse position, because you're not always gonna get what you want to get in a tournament. So there is merit for both guys to just search out different scenarios, different positions you're gonna end up in on the table, sometimes lose, and I think Devon knows that, and yeah, that's why you sometimes see him quote-unquote lose at a practice, which, you know, it isn't even possible, I think, to lose at a practice. You can only lose at a competition, right? So, yeah. Rodney Hickman says, Oleg surprised many with his easy win, taking the title. Yeah, that was a big surprise too, indeed. That's why I don't think this was a bad event, despite all the one-sided matches. I think matches that people thought were going to be close were still surprising and exciting because they weren't, if that makes sense. Jacobin says, Karolina is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, really, really awesome on the table, as well as it seems off the table. A really fun person, as far as I can tell from like her social media and the very limited interactions I've had with her online. Topal says Carolina was excited for our future wedding, so she ran right through that gal. Couldn't wait to get to her Topal. Egay says, I think now Samushia should rest a little bit. We need Nordalit versus Maiorov for #1 contender match. Yeah, that's not a bad stance to take, I think, for Samushia. I think he's deserved 1 or 2 events off, right? Timmy Turner says, Pauline, your win over Samushia aged really well. Yeah, Pauline must have been happy with Samushia taking another victory. Hey, Phil Woody, how you doing? Good to see you, good to see you. Welcome. Please hit that thumbs up, says Phil Woody, indeed. Thanks for the quick reminder there, Phil. If you can, hit the like button, get a couple more people in chat. We'll get the live stream to a couple more people there. Timmy Turner says Reno Masic lost like every practice match after an East vs West event, and people made fun of him in comments, but then he beat Bacho Saginashvili. Yeah, and I can speak kind of from personal experience now. I met Reno Masic yesterday, and I saw him practice pull with a lot of people. And indeed, he isn't afraid to lose either and to give up positions. And I even saw Reno Masic top rolling people, which was new to me. But I guess, yeah, if you're in a practice with people who are way less experienced or weaker than you in general, I think that's a good way to approach it, right? Take the opportunity to practice some moves that you maybe aren't that good at, but yeah, that you can still practice with those kinds of people. Really nice guy, by the way, Reno Masic. I'd love to see more of him on the table, on the big screen, soon, I hope so. Let's take a look at the next match here. Chan Shaw versus Ibrahim Sagov. I was rooting for Chance here. I really was. I think he was up against it, especially when I saw them both in the lead up to the event. Yeah, Ibrahim just looked huge, right? Kind of a mountain of a man. And yeah, Chance looked good, as in he looked in pretty good shape. And I think the loss of weight looked good on him. I think he looks healthier. But yeah, it was pretty clear to me just looking at them side by side that would be a really tough match for Chance. And unfortunately it was, and Chance ended up losing the match pretty convincingly. I don't think there was anything he could do. Some of the slips didn't work. I don't know if he could. Did he slip at a certain point? He had a hard time slipping, right? That's what I remember. Some very ugly attempted slips. Topal says, yeah, was hoping Chance would have a dominant win. Would have been nice. I'm rooting for Chance every time. I think his record at East vs West now is 1-4, I think. Which, yeah, I hope he gets another chance. I hope Chance gets another chance. Because think about it. Which other young athlete from the US is climbing the ranks right now? Who's actually doing well on the international circuit? From the US that's, let's say, below 40 even. 40 or 30. You've got Pauline, who I'll kind of include in that group still. Because it's not like he's been in the sport for 20 years, you know what I mean? And it's not like he's really old either. So yeah, I'll include Pauline in that category, but who else is there? Brad Grundy, that's a good point, Topal. That's a good one. I like Brad a lot. Timmy says, I knew it was over when Ibrahim dad moved Chance round 1. Yeah, and that's a bold thing to do, right? Starting from round 1, he grabbed Chance really low. Like really, really low, and just pure containment to the pad. Wawrzynski Medarnov says, I arm wrestle my friends and won dominantly. That's good. All I can say is, if you're casually arm wrestling, not with people who actually know what they're doing. And if you don't really know what you're doing yourself, just try and keep safety as a #1 priority, because if you break your arm this early into the sport, you're gonna stop arm wrestling. I think that's pretty fair to say. So just, you know, keep in mind, do it safely. Try to keep the pressure relatively low. Try to look for a technique that feels comfortable. Don't rotate too much. Yeah. Look at your hand. Rodney Hickman says, I think Travis is realizing that things have changed since he left. The level has gone way up. Yeah, rude awakening for Travis indeed. Hey, White Wolf in the chat. How you doing, White Wolf? A really awesome White Wolf mentioned, I think I told this before in a previous live stream, but White Wolf mentioned All-Time Prime Fantasy League to John, and John Brazing, that is, was so impressed that he won that. How you doing, White Wolf? MMT doing a decent, says Talpal. Maybe. I hope MMT does well. I really am rooting for MMT. Yeah, I hope he does well. He's one of those pullers that's always entertaining to watch, I think. And he has such a, still to this day, has such a unique style. I just want to see more of him. So yeah, I hope he does well. Egay says, Chance just needs more time in that class to get used to it and max out his potential there. Yeah, I hope so. He said he would stay in the 115s, which I'm happy about. And I think, yeah, that's where he might find his home. And I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope he goes back to the US and completely dominates everyone there. And then re-emerges as a new Chance. Completely solidified in that 115 class. That would be great. Would love to see that. Jude Duval says, I don't know, as a somewhat new top roller, I feel weaker when I get that moved by a good hooker. Yeah, that's true. That is true. It is a relatively easy way to victory if you know you've got the other person outpowered and you can just force them into that angle. Yeah, that is true. Atlantis says, yeah, Brad has really filled out the last few years. Brad is also one of those quite unassuming people, right? He looks quite unassuming, but then when you see him on the table, it becomes clear very quickly that he possesses a great deal of power, plus he really thinks about what he's doing. So, yeah, can't wait to see more of Brad. AI Audiobook says, remember, Travis couldn't really beat Sabin. Yeah. Sabin Badulescu is one of those pullers. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do a video on him at one point. I actually started doing it, like writing the script to a video on him like almost a year ago now, I think. There's so much to say about that guy, not only in arm wrestling but also outside. He's such a character. I don't know. He shows up in such differing shapes. I still don't know if he's actually that good. I don't know. Arm God's Whale, says White Wolf. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that too. Either next live stream, because I can't go for that long today, or in a separate video. But indeed, gonna have to talk about that one too. White Wolf, thanks for reminding me. Timmy Turner says, is Monster Michael Todd a 105 kilogram puller now? I don't know, is he? I think he's higher, yeah. Oh yeah, Paulin says 115. So yeah, I'm gonna defer to Mr. Paulin here. I think he would know the best. White Wolf says, didn't watch East versus West. Yeah, because of Arm God's Wheels, right? Which was an interesting choice. Doing it then, but yeah, I get it. Colin Farrell is in the chat. How you doing, Colin Farrell? Says, Samusha just beat the athlete with the strongest side pressure, strongest hook, and strongest hand, apparently without his hand even. Yeah, didn't look like he needed his hand. Let's move on to the next match. Dimitrina Petrova versus Ayane Takenaka. Like I said in my video and in my previous live stream, awesome to see. I'll reiterate again, awesome to see more Japanese pullers. I hope we get to see more, even though in the end Ayane lost. And I think this is the most controversial match, right? It wasn't one-sided, clearly. Up to a point it was at the start. I think the first couple of rounds it was quite one-sided in Miss Takenaka's favor there. But it was clear pretty quickly that Dimitrina Petrova wasn't without a chance, because if she got the start on Ayane, she could put her in a really compromised position and even finish her. So, yeah, I don't think it was quite the blowout that it looked like at first. And then, yeah, in the end, Dimitrina did manage to pull it off. But I think, like I said, this is the most controversial match of the night, because a lot of people are giving the referees a lot of flack for their calls. There were rounds where Ayane pretty much dragged Dimitrina across the table, pinned her really quickly, or at least looked like a pin to me. But yeah, during that process, apparently Dimitrina made an elbow foul, which caused the refs to restart it. Just call a foul and restart it, which in my opinion, I don't know. If I was a ref, which I'm not, but if I was a ref, I would just call that a pin for Ayane, to be honest. But yeah, they are the refs. They know more than I do, of course, about these things. So what are you gonna do, right? I don't know if you guys agree with that. AI audiobook says Sabin is a train wreck. Yeah, no comments. Jacobin says, what happened to Grundy's 5K challenge? What was the challenge, Jacobin? I don't know. Kinda rings a bell to a degree, but Phil Woody sharing Pauline's channel there. Thank you, Phil. That's really awesome, you doing that. Timmy Turner says MMT versus Sagov would be interesting. Yeah, I'd love to see it. You're right. Michael versus Ibrahim. And Pauline agrees there. That sounds like a good match to me too. Talpal says, I heard MMT was thinking about cashing in on Brad's 5K challenge. Pauline, you should get in on Brad's 5K challenge too. What is this 5K challenge I'm hearing about? That's the first I heard about it. Maybe I should know about it, but fill me in here, chat. Egay says, I don't know about strongest side pressure. They looked very even in first, and after that, Samushia was stronger in the hook, yeah. Brad going after the big boys, I think, says Pauline. Interesting. So is he actually planning on going up in weight, or is he just planning on staying the same weight and pulling the big boys? Or do you, by big boys, mean people high up in the rankings? Paul says, you are the big boys, Paul. That's certainly true. That's certainly true. From one big Paul to another big Paul. Rodney Hickman says, I wish East versus West would go to running foul, so you can't just elbow foul to get out of bad positions. That's true. They might want to try it. I don't know if it would be better. There's flaws for both systems. I think flaws and boons to both systems. I think with the running fouls, there's a bigger risk for confusion with the athletes as well as the crowd, as well as the referees even. It might be because we're just not used to that system as much, or it might be because it's just inherently the case with a running foul system that it's hard to call. You know, you gotta imagine you're in a death war as an athlete, giving it all you've got, concentrating 100% on what you're doing on a table, and the ref gives you a running foul. While you're usually used to, if the ref gives you a foul, the match stops. So what you often see with running fouls in these kinds of situations is athletes getting confused, like, should I keep pulling? Should I stop? One athlete stops because they thought a foul was called, so they should stop. The other one gets the pin. Yeah, it has the potential to get confusing. Now, of course, if this system was integrated more in general, and if all leagues adopted this system and people got used to it after some grace period, that might be different, right? The outcome might be different. Sabin has a win over Levan. He was very good in his days, says Timmy Turner. Yes, indeed. Sabin definitely had periods where he was good. That's for sure true. Jude Duval says, I think MMT accepted the 5k. Paul Hutchings says, Brad wouldn't even know I was attached to him if I tried for the 5k. Yeah, same for me, man. Brad's hand looks ridiculous, it does. Okay, here we go. Jude Duval says, Brad offered 5k to pull someone at 105 in the US, right? So, yeah. Paul reiterates here, Brad offered anyone in the USA a 5k match to their $0. Interesting. Okay, so I was under the assumption when Jude explained it there that someone else had to put up the 5k too, right? But he offered to put down 5k to their $0. Interesting. Okay, so kind of really making a statement with that one. Yeah, I like it. It's very bold. Very bold. Yes, White Wolf, thank you for reminding the people. You can go over to Arm Gods and check out their event too for only £4.99. The link that White Wolf provided. Timmy Turner says, King of the Table does the running fall system wrong. They don't do it like Arm Wars. That's true. Jacobin says, and yeah, would have to be a big guy to have any real chance. Interesting. Juduval says maybe running elbow falls so it's not as easy, but normal falls for the rest. Yeah. Again, might be too confusing. I don't know. I'm all for keeping it simple. As simple as possible. I think we could even stand to simplify the sport even more so certain processes don't take as long. Just for viewers. But yeah, I'm all for keeping it as simple as possible there. So I don't know if that would really make it more simple. Yeah, it is a ballsy challenge by Brad Grundy, that's for sure, Timmy Turner. Hey, name not needed, how you doing? Good to see you. Paul says, yeah, I'm surprised nobody jumped on that 5k. Yeah, that's pretty telling about Brad's level, right? The guys over there must know something. It's so fun to say Takenaka's name, says Paul. Yes, indeed. I love Takenaka. He showed great spirit despite the dubious ref calls, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope we see more of her. I hope she doesn't get discouraged. And I hope she gets invited again because I'd love to see more of her. Move on to the next. Daniel Prokopchik versus Bojidar Simeonov. Yeah. Bojidar looked like a different person, right? I saw it in the lead-up already. But I think Daniel took it right, convincingly. Again, a sweep, as far as I can remember. Yeah, pretty easily. I think Bojidar even got a shoulder injury or something like that in like around 2 or 3. I think Daniel got scared that he really injured Bojidar. So yeah, I hope Bojidar is fine. I think I saw some footage of him after the match where he was wearing a sling, his arm in a sling. So I hope, yeah, nothing serious happened there. I'm sure maybe there's an update out there already, but I'm not aware of it. Juduval says what Brad is doing is kind of like Dustin Jalif pulling John Terrian for no money. Interesting, yeah, I know John Terrian, don't know Dustin Jalif. Colin Farrell says, I think the next match for Vitali should be against Zeranov. Winner meets Hermes. Yeah. Maybe is Zeranov in that... Yeah, maybe he is. He's at that level. He might be. Also one of those, and I mean this in the best way possible, caveman people, right? Just a house of a dude. It looked like Bojidar got hurt, says Timmy Turner. Yeah, I hope not. Daniel was much stronger, says Zay. I agree. Daniel usually appears very dominant, right? Plus, kind of his demeanor plays into that, I think. He has the tendency, and I think the commentators alluded to it a little bit, Devon, I believe, to the fact that sometimes Daniel has the tendency to showboat a little, which is fine. I like it. So that makes him look extra dominant at times, I think. Jude Duval says, all depends. Ravas seems to have an inconsistent shape. Yeah, Ravas did say for sure. Seems to have an inconsistent shape, right? He didn't show up in the best shape at King of the Table, I believe. Was where he lost pulled, right? Was pretty heavy there, to say the least. Quite an understatement. But yeah, I do think his physical condition is, yeah, depends on the day. As with most of these athletes, but yeah, it seems like for Ravas, even more so the case. Next match, Artem Tainov versus Betkili Onyani on the left hand. I didn't expect this one to go down the way it did, but yeah, Onyani, true killer there, dominating Artem Tainov. I think Tainov was without a chance completely, which, yeah, from the granted quite limited times I've seen him, is quite surprising to me. But yeah, Onyani definitely top contender there. Top of his class right now, taking the belt. Yeah, majestic Betkili Onyani is the real deal. Seems like a really well put together guy. Seems to know what he's doing on the table too. So yeah, I'll be rooting for him going forward, I think. Timmy Turner says, I like how he carries himself. Supreme confidence indeed. Kind of was what I was alluding to there. Jude Duval says, history of the dad move. When? That's a good one, I think. Although, yeah, that's going to be a tough one to research there, for sure. When did the dad move start? Must have been around since the start of arm wrestling, right? Be a difficult one to make, but yeah, I'll put it on the list. Jude Duval. But yeah, again, one-sided match, but a surprising match, like so many of these matches were. I liked it. Like I said before, I liked it. It meant there was less fatigue from the event going on for a little too long. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, even though a lot of the matches were one-sided. Now, let's talk about Travis Bagent versus Kalininchenko. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. Kind of became clear really quickly, in my opinion, from the first, what I believe was an attempted slip from Travis. Couldn't even really slip without fouling. Didn't look good. I think a very rude wake-up call for Travis. A rude awakening. Yeah, this is what the level is at now in arm wrestling. I've said it before, I've said it many times during the All-Time Prime Fantasy League. Arm wrestling, in my opinion, the level has evolved. Athletes in their prime before, I don't think they would stand much of a chance, most of them, with the current field. Just my opinion. But I think this kind of goes to prove it. And I'm not saying Travis was at his prime, right? But I do think we saw a pretty well prepared Travis that was confident and thought he was good at least. I think he truly felt that he was in contention for winning this match before the match happened. But yeah, from the first start, the first ready go, I think became clear pretty quickly to Travis as well as the audience that yeah, Kalininchenko is the real deal. Name not needed says, who is gonna beat Barbora? That's another really good question there. I hear talk about Irina Makeyeva. I believe that's her name, right? Paul says hashtag let it break. Devon's hashtag there. Egay says 4 belts for Georgia. Very impressive. Yeah, 3 million people. I think all of them arm wrestle. Must be the case. Tallpaul says, where is the arm historian on legalizing or banning the king's move? I guess that depends on what you call a king's move, right? I think humerus shouldn't decline when in a losing position is a fair enough rule. I don't mind it at all. So if you draw the line there, well, yeah, why not? Legalize king's move. But I think, yeah, there's some positions where, I don't know, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see more arm breaks in arm wrestling, even at high levels. I know what Devin is saying, and the logic is there. But in my opinion, the logic is only there at a pretty superficial level. If we're gonna start seeing more arm breaks because you're allowing these kinds of things at a high level, and I do think that'll be a direct consequence of allowing such things. If we're gonna start seeing more arm breaks at a high level, arm breaks and arm wrestling are gonna get entangled even more than they are already in the casual viewer's opinion, if that makes sense. The casual viewer is gonna associate arm wrestling with inevitable arm breaks more, and less people are gonna try arm wrestling. We're already at that stage. Our sport is already there where most people look at arm wrestling as something inherently supremely dangerous and something at which you can break your arm really quickly, which is true, but it's true. Those kinds of things are true for most sports if you practice them, especially combat sports, but a lot of sports, if you practice them without any supervision, without any prior knowledge, without any gradual build-up. Those things are true for almost every sport. So I don't think that's a unique thing to arm wrestling. But I do think people now think it is arm wrestling. If you just arm wrestle, you're at a very great risk of breaking your arm. No, the fact is, if you arm wrestle improperly, then you're at a great risk for breaking your arm. And I think those kinds of things, those kinds of rules are in place, yeah, because maybe to some people they're unfair or whatever. I don't really care why they're in place, but they're in place. And the consequence is that less people will break their arm, which is, in my opinion, ultimately a good thing for the sport as a whole. That's how I see it. I understand Devin's inherent logic in what he's saying. Athletes at the top level should be able to make their own choices about their body and how far they want to put it on the line. But then again, I think you need to weigh that against the fact, like, how much do we want to appeal to people more and how much do we want to grow the sport in the long term. So yeah. Long explanation, but that's kind of how I think about it. Jacobin says Barbora said she trains against her cows and if they win then she eats them. That is funny. I see we've got a monthly member super chat from White Wolf, a great supporter of the channel. Says our historian will deny he's paying me to be a member. Keep it fucking quiet, White Wolf. Talked about this at great length. Topal says those are some names that I thought would do good to me about Paul, Pablo, and Jerome. Talking about the US crowd, I think. Hopefully Travis sticks with it for a while. Yeah, that's another thing with this match, right? I really hope Travis sticks with arm wrestling, sticks to his comeback, doesn't get discouraged. Maybe, and maybe it's wishful thinking here, but maybe he's just thinking this might be motivation for me. Like, I'm not at the level I thought I was. The general level clearly has gone up, but I can still do it. If Devin can do it, I can do it. I hope he sticks with it too, Jacobin. I agree. Talpal says Travis getting older now, concentrating on his left only would be the way to go, in Talpal's opinion. but I hope it doesn't discourage him. Yeah, I agree. I don't care if I see him only on the left from here on out. I wouldn't care one bit, as long as he sticks with the sport. Travis just put out a video on his YouTube channel, but I haven't watched it yet, says Talpal. Interesting. I might pull that up really quickly just to see what it's about, although I won't play it for obvious reasons. Don't want to steal Travis' content here completely. Although, you know, technically, I do think commenting on it and watching it on live stream does fall under fair use, but yeah, I won't tempt the fates. Let's take a look what he put out. No, I think the last video on his channel is him meeting Sergey at the VIP meeting 3 days ago, so yeah. Maybe I'm missing it somewhere here, or maybe it's a live stream or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think he put something out. Not that I can see. KL says, shoulder under the table isn't making the sport better. Yep, valid opinion to have. Jacobin says, yeah, arm breaks are super hard to watch. They are indeed. Heath says, what's the injury rate in arm wrestling versus something like basketball? I'd say this is a pretty safe sport. I think so too. There's something to be said for like the average severity of injury, right? Basketball, the average might be a sprained ankle, while arm wrestling, the average might be a torn tendon or maybe even an arm break. So, yeah, there's something to be said for that, but I think in general, you're right, and arm wrestling is a pretty safe sport. Timmy Turner says, I think MMT would be so difficult to beat without the decline humorous rule. Yep. Jacobin says, true, it would probably have an overall negative impact. I think so. I think so. Xay says, arm break is not really the reason why Engin does not like the move. King's move is the only move where there's no open lane to pin opponent without him giving up or breaking arm. It's just unfair. I can't think of any other move where there's no open lane to attack. Yeah. And I get it, and that's certainly a valid argument, and I think a lot of people are coming at whether or not the King's move should be legal or not from that stance. And I do to a degree too. But yeah, you can counter that pretty quickly by saying, yeah, there is a way out of the King's move, which is breaking the arm. Which is what Devon is basically saying, right? There is a good way to beat the King's move in a very consistent way. Or how it ends. There is a way for the King's move to end, right? Which is just gotta break your opponent's arm, right? Be strong enough to break the arm. I think it would be a negative for the sport in general. Talpal agrees with me here, it seems. Jude Duval says, I like Chris Drummond's King's move definition. A twisted arm with locked out supination and a bicep near or touching the pad. Yeah, that's not bad. I think it's harder to ref on, right? If you're gonna use that specific of a definition, then it's harder to ref on, in my opinion. Because what is locked out supination, right? How can you tell it's really locked out supination? Some people supinate way further than other people, if you know what I mean. Jacobin says, is this true, Arm Historian? Are you paying White Wolf to be a member? That is fake news. Completely made up. I don't know where you got such slander, but I urge you not to express it again. Sounded very severe, right? Rodney Hickman says, with athletes getting bigger and bigger, should there be another class? Watching super heavy men and women being 100 pounds difference seems too much. I don't know. It might potentially dilute the classes a little too much, especially at the upper end there. But yeah, it's been talked about a lot, right? A Titan class or something like that. I'd be down to see how it plays out in practice. I don't know if we'll ever get to see that experiment really happen, but I'd be down to see if it would actually do something and how it would mix up the classes. Yeah, that being said, I do think women's heavyweight or super heavyweight starts at like what, 85? If something like that. I do think women could, yeah, super heavyweight could be 100 plus or something, right? With women, I do agree there. Topal says, well, dang, Wolf, he must like you better than. Or White Wolf just performed some services for me that you didn't, Topal. No, I'm kidding. I'm not paying White Wolf to be a member, okay? Libel. Slander. Don S says, whoa, Arm, no, long time no see. I missed the event. How bad did Travis look? Pretty bad, Don S. Pretty bad. By the way, Don, did you make your way to a big international training yesterday in Herentals? I don't know if you did. Juduval says Travis versus Voivoda would be a cool tiebreaker. Yeah, I saw that comment on Reddit somewhere. Someone saying Travis should have faced Voivoda. Excuse me there. I do agree, yeah. I do agree that would have been a better match. But yeah, hindsight is 2020. Nobody knew what Travis' level was at. But yeah, would have been an awesome match. Maybe it can still happen, right? Would love to see it. White Wolf says, I prefer running fouls and 3 fouls is a loss, not 2. Yeah, 3 fouls is a loss. I could kind of maybe find myself into, I don't know. Difficult to say. White Wolf says, Arm historian, all rumor others accusing me of being paid to not go on certain channels. Really? That's weird. That's weird, I don't know. There's a lot of infighting in arm wrestling and if people want to get involved with that, that's fine, but I'm not really that guy, if you know what I mean. I try to stay away from that kind of thing with a 10-foot pole. Not to say that I don't have opinions on stuff, right, but I just think, yeah, a lot of the infighting is unfortunate. That's what I'll say on it. Topal says, yeah, Travis versus Voivoda and Travis versus Dennis left, and Travis versus Levan on the left in a year would be cool. Let's take a look at another match because it's gonna take a really long time at this pace. Barbora versus Egay. Yeah, again, really one-sided. Kind of could tell by just comparing the two athletes in stature. I think Barbora was what, 120 kilos and Egay was 85 or something. Yeah, like just imagine 120 kilogram puller. Like who are we gonna pick? Let's just pick 2 people from this list, right? Who is 120 kilograms on this list? Who is 120? Like just 115. Let's take Sergey. Let's take Kalinichenko. Let's imagine Kalinichenko versus fucking Daniel Prokopchik or Bajar. How do you think that would end up? The same weight difference between these 2 women, right? It's just crazy to me. But that's not to say this isn't the best matchup they could find, right? For Barbora, it might have been. I don't think Egay is a bad arm wrestler or weak at all. I just think it makes sense that they would be in different weight classes, right? Hey, the Claymore! How you doing, James Stewart himself? In the chat. Good to see you. Talking about super heavyweights. Jutuval says, well, defensive hook is the same as a king's move in the way that you gotta break it to pin or move their whole body. I don't know. Kind of. It depends. You can still kind of pry a defensive hook open. Just as you can still, I don't know, kind of force a king's move to the pad, I feel. At least with the people I pull. But they're not that proficient at king's moving, so I don't know. I've never faced a really good king's mover before, so I couldn't tell you from personal experience, Jude. The notion that people are being paid not to support a specific channel is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, that is weird. I don't think that's the case at all. It's just there's a lot of, yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna talk about it more. I think it's, in general, not worth getting involved. Like all the politicking in arm wrestling behind the scenes, and there's a lot of it going on. Now that I've kind of met a lot of people in the community, I've talked with a lot of people on all sides, all kind of different tournaments, promotions, event organizers. There's more infighting than you would expect. Which is crazy, because I already expected quite a lot. There you go. And kind of, yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't like it. White Wolf says, without trying to spoil, but holy cow, James, what a fucking match, you stud. Yeah, I hope James did really well. I'm sorry, James, I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I will definitely be watching it probably tomorrow when I get a little time. But yeah, there you go. I hope you did well, Claymore. Toljan says too many categories as it is. Yeah, kind of agree there. Army Historian, keep the checks coming. White Wolf, sure. Timmy Turner says, why would he pay people to be members? You guys are hilarious. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous, right? I would never do that, Timmy Turner. Atlantis says, yeah, his starting in a flop business needs to be nipped in the bud before more people start trying to do it. What are you talking about there? Or just in general, starting in a flop like Camilla and stuff. I've seen that said about a lot. Claymore says he's going to the States in March. That's awesome, the Claymore. I'm sure you'll do well there too. Don says, I was not at the big national training. Very unfortunate, Don. It was very nice. Got to meet Reno Masic and a lot of cool people. It's funny because very few people there know me as the arm historian, of course. It's not like I'm not the kind of guy that the first thing I say to people is, hey, I'm the arm historian. So yeah, it's funny. Of course, I kind of had to tell Reno because we talked beforehand. It would be kind of weird if I started talking to him as if I knew him. While he didn't know who the fuck I was, so... Hey, Holly Stewart there, the Claymore's wife. See you, Holly. Really good person, too. White Wolf says, arm historian is top-notch. I appreciate you, White Wolf. Same to you, man. A lot of the people that I met in Ireland, I think will be, as far as I'm concerned, lifelong friends. Just because they were all so chill and so nice. Timmy Turner says, how much did Eagle weigh again? I believe Egay weighed 85 kilograms or something around that weight. Atlantis says, Barbora is a literal tank. Kind of crazy indeed. Very crazy. Timmy Turner says, Army Historian, the problem is that Barbora would be alone in her weight class. There are barely any female arm wrestlers with her weight. Same with Levon in the men's super heavyweight division. Yeah, I agree. That's the reason why I didn't want a Titan weight class necessarily, but it's just... Yeah. It's hard to get around that fact, right? When you're looking at women's classes, that there's just no women in that weight category. I think there are a couple. There are some, right? Over in the US and stuff. But it's just the weight disparity is so big. I know in practice it's really difficult to even do that, because Barbora would basically be alone in her class with like one or two other people. But still, yeah, it pains me to see an 85 kilogram puller facing a 120 plus kilogram puller. Hey, Muscle Bike, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're keeping well there, friends. Muscle Bike, another one of those awesome people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in Ireland. Atlantis says, has arm wrestling infighting always been like this, or it's a product of the social media age? It goes back for a long time. for a really long time, but not to this degree, as far as I can tell. You know, my only point of reference is I haven't been in the sport for that long, so I can kind of tell what's been going on the last 5 years, because I've been there for it. But yeah, as far as going back further, I can only rely on the research that I've done, right? Which is pretty extensive in some topics, and I've talked to a lot of people that were there for those times. But yeah, take what I say with a grain of salt here, but I do think, yeah, it's been around for a really long time, the infighting between different federations, leagues, athletes, everything you can think of under the sun. But I do think with possibly, like you said, the social media age now, that's kind of been magnified, right? White Wolf says, Arm Historian, you have different color eyes in person. Yeah, I've heard from people that my eyes don't look quite as fingery in real life. I don't see it personally, but I've heard that from people. Holly Stewart says, I'm still listening, just trying to get the kids to bed. Which is kind of the regular thing for Holly, right? When she visits my live streams. Always talking about getting the kids to bed, but I think that's kind of the fate of a person with kids. To always doing something with the kids. I get it, 100%. Phil Woody says AR. I don't know if you mean Arm Historian or if you're talking to someone else, maybe Atlantis in real life. Says, what's the next arm wrestling trip or plans? For me personally, probably the Nationals, although I'm not quite sure yet if I'm going. They're asking a very large amount of money for even participating, so yeah, I don't know. Muscle Bike, I read something about, yeah. Muscle Bike says, quitting my job. Quitting my day job was great, but I still have to work 6 nights. So Jake must be a bit off there. Still have to work 6 nights there, Muscle Bike, but you're doing it. You're making it happen. Good on you. White Wolf says, didn't see his first Swiss, but heard a lot of non-squared shoulders at Go. There were some for sure. Atlantis says, kinda sucks, so few people, we should be teaming up. Everyone needs to feel better than someone else though. Human condition flaw. Yeah, I agree. Jocelyn might give Barbora a good match soon, I hope so. She would be in the same weight class, right? Just about. Timmy Turner says how much it costs to participate at your nationals. I think 70 euros or something per registration. So per like class and hand and all that, which is a lot. Normally tournaments here where I live are like 20 euros or something like that. Might not be a lot compared to the US, I don't know what it's like over there, but I think that's quite a bit. And let's move on to the next match here with Todd Hutchings versus Krasimir Kostadinov. Yeah, I expected more from this match too. Like a lot of these matches, I expected it to be a real fight, but Todd just proved to be too much for Krasimir. Kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? In an empirical kind of way, like look at their previous match. Or matches, even. Not quite sure. But yeah, I do think they faced each other quite a bit, if I remember correctly. I did all this research on Krasimir some time ago when I made a video on him, but can't quite remember everything. But I do think they faced quite a bit, and I think Todd Hutchings usually, or even always, got the better of Krasimir. Maybe he's just like Krasimir's kryptonite in a way. Timmy Turner says, that's crazy, I wouldn't pay $70. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. We're still kind of doubting too because of that. We'll see. Toljan says, what did you think about casual €5 pay-per-view increase? Yeah, kind of caught me by surprise too. Kind of scummy in a way, a little. I didn't like it. I wish we would have been informed. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have any prior knowledge of it and it's just a core sports thing. I'm trying to give East versus West the benefit of the doubt here. But yeah, I didn't like that at all. I didn't mind paying €5 extra if they just communicated it with us beforehand. But yeah, that's how I stand on it. Prpic versus Irakli was the biggest upset, I think. Let's move on to that one. Yeah, pretty big upset too. I think a lot of people had Prpic here. Those in the know apparently had Irakli. But I think it made sense, right, for Levant to back his guy here. But he was right. Irakli seemed to be in unprecedented shape and still going up, still climbing that ladder and getting better and better every time. Really impressive performance against Prpic here, which isn't an easy thing to do. I remember not that long ago, Prpic entered the tournament here where I live, very close to where I live, and dominated everyone really easily. Must be the curse of Devon betting on you. Yeah, might be the case. Muscle Bike says, if we're really, really well behaved this year, maybe next year, we'll get to pay $100 for East versus West. That'll be the day, right? Now, I think they'll start losing me at around, I don't know, what would I pay for an event like this? It's gonna be pretty high because I'm an arm wrestling fan. I'm not rich by any standards, so it's not like I have this great disposable income. But I think they'll start losing me at about €30. They'll start losing me sooner if they don't increase their quality along with the price. You know what I mean? If their production quality keeps steadily going up along with the price, then I'm fine with it. Yeah. Or if they're offering other stuff along with it for the price increase, then I'm fine with it. But as it stands right now, I think €30 would be my cutoff, which I realize is pretty high. Toljan says it's getting way too expensive for a peasant like me. I hear you. I was less eager to pay it this time too, especially because of the sudden out of nowhere €5 increase. Timmy Turner says, if they keep increasing these pay-per-view prices, I'll stop buying. I said it and I meant it. They upload the matches on YouTube a week later anyways. True that. Yeah, it's gonna be tough going forward for them to get to a price point and stick to it, right? I mean, there's always gonna be inflation, but I don't think they should be increasing. Like, at a certain point, you're gonna say, okay, this is what the event will cost going forward, and we'll do like a, I don't know, what's like a reasonable number, just a number that corresponds with general inflation every year or 2 years, right? That would make sense to me. Timmy Turner says Chance Shaw in his first pay-per-view Challenger Series event had way better production than King of the Table in East vs. West, after a total of over 20 events, which they had time to improve. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of points where they could still improve, and stuff that I think should have been already worked out. Also, to give them their dues, there is a lot of stuff that has been improved already. I'm just thinking something offhand, like crowd. If you take a look at the first editions of East vs. West and the editions now, it's a night and day difference, right? Production, crowd, everything, night and day difference, gotten way better. So I think the general trend is it's still getting better. It's not always a straight line, but it is getting better, I think. That being said, I think Chan Shaw did a great job. I think a lot of maybe US-based production teams have an easier time, have more experience with those kinds of things, I think. But yeah, they did a great job. Jacobin says Engin would be open to Dana White getting involved. Hard to imagine Dana and Engin trying to work together. Yeah, it is hard. Greedy's a MFer, says Toljan. It can be for sure. Timmy Turner says yesterday's event, the replays again were poop emoji. I mean, fix this already. The replays still suck. Sometimes, I mean, yeah, sometimes. Not always. I think it's inevitable at any event. It's gonna happen unless you have like millions to throw at it. And like hire a truly like top tier professional production company. Unless you have that, it's inevitable that it's gonna happen. Just by sheer chance, I think if you would increase the number of Challenger series, statistically there's gonna be a couple of them in there that are gonna be a little less on the production value, right? You're gonna have some of them, I'm sure, that will also feature some less than stellar replays. So I think it's just a consequence of we've had 13 editions of these now, so there's bound to be some that are, you know, a little less statistically as far as production value goes. But yeah, I do hear you. There's definitely points they can improve, you know. I'm not saying East versus West is perfect by any metric. I don't think perfection really exists when it comes to these kinds of things. Just want to make it as good as possible, right? Topal says, yeah, if I was a promoter, I'd wait longer before I release the event on YouTube for free. Yeah, that's another difficult question I'm not really an expert in. I don't know. Like maybe it's just that important to keep the ball rolling on social media, keep the uploads steady and the interest steady, that you kind of need to do that. I don't know. The West Move says I was wrong on just about every match on the card, but still had a blast. Yeah, I think that's a good summary of this event in general. I think a lot of these matches were very one-sided, but very surprising at the same time, which made them fun. I still enjoyed it too. I did. Timmy Turner says Chan Shaw nailed it. Great event he hosted indeed. Really. White Wolf says Arm Gods low price of $4.99 and you get an entire website with all past events included. Unbelievable deal. Amazing talent and matches can be beat. I agree. White Wolf Arm Gods is a really great deal for the money, for sure. If you enjoy arm wrestling, there's a lot of good arm wrestling matches there. I think in general it's good to have more promotions. I think a healthy competition leads to better events in the long run. But yeah, David Dariakan versus Oleg Petrenko. Not a big surprise for a lot of people, I think. Oleg Petrenko kind of dominated David, right? If I remember correctly. Lost his title to Oleg Petrenko. Quite an upset. Timmy Turner says, I watched 2 or 3 Arm Gods events and they were so entertaining. Good stuff. Yeah, I've made an entire video on Arm Gods. A very unique style, certainly. I do have to say I enjoyed watching the events before, but I enjoyed being there in person even more. Just the atmosphere there was really good, and I don't know, I just enjoyed myself. I had a lot to drink, let's put it that way, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, second to last match here. David Samushia versus Sasho Andreev in the welterweights. Samushia is crazy. A lot of people have said it this stream. Samushia is freaking crazy. Unbelievable record at these first. What is he now? Like 9-1 or something, or 8-1, something crazy like that. Just keeps pulling out wins from nowhere, man. It seems like one of his chains gets weakened or gets overpowered, like in this case kind of his hand and wrist to a degree, but he still pulls it out. He still hangs in there and just, I don't know how he does it, but he pulls out the win. Really weird. 9-1 is yeah, there you go. Really crazy. Did the arm historian have a pimped wheelbarrow? What does that even mean, Paul? What does that even mean? Timmy Turner says, I really thought Sasho would be the one to end the winning streak of Samushia. Yeah, kind of looked like it at some points, right? But then it just didn't happen. So weird. It's really weird. But yeah, I'm a Samushia fan. He's won me over, like, throughout all these past events, he's won me over. Didn't know a lot about the guy, but I sure know him now. Awesome puller. Really unassuming looking, but awesome puller. Timmy Turner says, I remember Samushia said in a recent interview that he needs to rest for 4 months after competing so frequently in East versus West. Yeah, I can imagine. The guy is a machine, for sure. Okay, now, name not needed. You clarify there that Paul meant wheelbarrow, right? Now, I know what a wheelbarrow is, and I kind of assumed that he meant that, but it still doesn't explain anything. Paul says, at Arm Gods, if you get too drunk, they will take you to your hotel room in a wheelbarrow. Luckily, that didn't happen to me. I did get quite drunk there, but yeah. They didn't need a wheelbarrow for me. Fortunately, I can kind of hold my booze there. Wheelbarrow is a classic feature for getting the drunks home. That's funny because we used like shopping carts often enough instead of wheelbarrows where I'm from. But yeah, there you go. Interesting piece of culture trivia. Always learning. Yeah, you should, White Wolf. Next time I'm there, I'll see all the sights from the view of a wheelbarrow. I take that right for sure. Sis name not needed. There you go. 2 people will take it together. Name. Yeah, and the final match here, as we're rounding out the stream, I don't know, let me quickly check if Neil is going live with the fix. I'm not quite sure. Usually he goes live around this time, but I think he's kind of sick, so yeah, I don't think he'll be going live today, but he might be. But yeah, the last match of the night, Artyom Morozov versus Vitaly Laletin. I wanted so much more from this match. Really disappointing in a way. It's nice to know that Vitaly is at this big of a level, because I do think Artyom looked quite good. He looked in shape, right? Wasn't like he looked emaciated or something, like one of his last outings. But yeah, really disappointing that Morozov couldn't do more versus Vitaly. What's next for Vitaly? What do you guys think? I see a lot of people saying like he should face Hermes again, because he's so much better now apparently in like half a year or something. I don't know. Might be. What do you guys think? Who's next for Vitaly? Is it Levan like in half a year or something? Timmy Turner says, I really want to see the Vitaly Levan rematch. Yeah, I'd love to see it. For sure. I think they both improved since their last match. In the top 8, I believe. So, yeah, I do definitely want to see it again. When we're gonna see it, I don't know. Is there much point in Vitaly doing it already? Maybe. Topal says, I thought this was a left arm match till I saw them on the table. I would have rather seen them on the left. Yeah, I think on the left this would be a really good match too. But to be honest, I thought the match on the right would be a good one too. But yeah, in a way it was, but so one-sided. Narragort says, Hermes, then Kurdecha Kaderet, then Levan. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think you could even switch Kurdecha and Kaderet with Hermes in that list, I think. Maybe it would make more sense that he would face Kurdecha first and then Hermes. I think Hermes is more of a proven entity, whereas Kurdecha is still kind of, I don't want to say making his comeback because he wasn't away for that long, but he's kind of getting back into the swing of things, right? So I do think I would rather see him face Kurdecha, or like you said, Kaderet first, then go on to the Hermes rematch, and then move on to Levan. If he wins those. Egay says, in the left it will be the same, might be. Hey Ninat, long time no see, how you doing? Good to see you. White Wolf says, I want to see the Claymore near Vitelli in the future. I'd love to see James Stewart doing better and better and getting those wins and climbing his way up the ladder all the way to the Vitalis and the Levans of the world. I'd love to see him there. Really, I think James Stewart is a really solid guy. And I think if he keeps at it, keeps training, he might get there. Hail the Commonwealth champ, James Stewart. Really good to hear that. Well done, James. Nar says on the left, Vitali will be even more dominant, as his hands are similar in power, and Morozov's right is quite dominant, he said his right, even 10% stronger. Yeah, that being said, Morozov is higher in the rankings on left, so it would make sense for them to face each other on the left too, I think. Timmy Turner says Kurdecha has so much size, I think he could cause problems to Levan in the future. Yeah, there's these guys, right? And I will even throw in Derek Smith in that category just because of the sheer size of him. These guys that you would think, looking at their frame, they must have a chance, right? Some form of them must have a chance versus Levan. At some point, right? Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I do think that should be the case. Hope you're right. Yeah, there you go. Nar says, so the only chance for Morozov is more rounds because of title match. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Morozov is a puller that comes back often, that loses the first couple of rounds and then finds a way to win anyways. Topal says, Levan only having a match every year or so makes it fairly easy to stay undefeated. Yeah, I talked about this earlier in the stream, and I do think the fact that he only has to pull one match a year or around that number makes it so that he can peak really high every time. And that might contribute to the fact that he's so unbeatable, right? I think if Levan was forced to pull 3 times a year or something like that to maintain his title, we might see a beatable Levan in one of those matches, in one of those 3 matches. We might not, but I hope so. Musclebike says, any chance we will see you at Winterblast, Arm Historian? Winterblast is in the US, right? Probably not then. Yeah, probably not. If it is in the US. It's just, I don't think I'm at a point where anyone, I don't see why they would, but I don't think I'm at a point where anyone would fly me out there. And I'm not in a position where I can just put a lot of money into that, unfortunately, to travel, because yeah, it does cost quite a lot to travel to the US if it is indeed in the US. Name Not Needed says, Derek Smith, you can be serious. I'm not serious about, I don't think Derek Smith is their level, Name Not Needed, but I think I was pretty clear on saying just their stature. Derek Smith is nearly as tall as Vitali and does have a big frame. Like, I'm not saying Derek Smith is at the level of Vitali, of course. I'm not delusional, but you know what I'm saying, right? I think you understand what I'm saying. Ninat says, don't write off Morozov at only 25 years old. He's in the top 5 on both hands. We'll see a lot more from him. Yeah, that's something I think, and I forget it too often. Some of these top guys are really young still. 25 is crazily young, right? Especially in arm wrestling terms. So yeah, I definitely agree there. What happens at Arm Gods stays at Arm Gods. I sure hope so. Muscle Bike. For everyone's sake. But yeah, that was the event. Those were the matches. All in all, I'll reiterate it once more. Pretty good event. A lot of one-sided matches, but a lot of surprising matches. A lot of unpredictability there. So that's what I liked. Was quite tired when I watched the event, but I enjoyed that it wasn't quite as long as the other events. So I appreciated that a lot. So yeah, all in all, I think we can call East vs West 13 a success. I do hope Engin gets better soon. I don't know if he's gone back to the hospital now. I don't think so. You could see some shots of him during East vs West with kind of a neck brace on. Yeah, I hope he gets better soon. I hope he recovers soon. And yeah, I'm looking forward to East vs West 14, which will be in the US, in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. Atlantic City, USA, says Muscle Bike for, let's see here, for Winter Blast. So yeah, probably I won't be making my way over there. Yeah, as it would just be too expensive. That's what it comes down to. I see we're talking about STDs now. Staying at Arm Gods. I don't think STDs stay anywhere. Usually they just travel with you. Name Not Needed is going to Winter Blast, which will be fun, I'm sure. Name Not Needed. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have a great time there. Good event. I've watched it before. Good event. Looks like. It was 2 hours away from me. I would certainly go there too, I think. So, yeah, there you go. As far as I can tell, Neil isn't going live. So there's not really a stream I can send you to, I think. I don't think anyone else is live that I know of. Let's quickly check here. No, I don't think so. So yeah, that'll be it for this week. If you guys want to ask me something or say something, this is the last time you can do it until next Sunday when I'll be going live again. Of course, as always. At least I try to go live always. And usually I do. Once again, I'll say it. I say it every live stream. Engin Thursday video dropping soon. I've gone over the reasons why it's taking so long again at the start of the stream. I apologize to everyone who's eagerly awaiting the video. It'll come out soon and it'll be good. I promise. Long and good. That's what she said. Okay, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Have a good one. And until then, Arm Historian.